All right. So for this one here, I'm going to be doing we're going to talk about headlines and basically the 7-step checklist that I use to write killer headlines that crush the competition. Really, it's like 7 elements to successful headlines, as we're going to go over here. I did this as a talk. I'm recording this, I guess, what's today? The 19th? March 19th, 2020. And I did this talk maybe, like today's Wednesday, Friday, 5 days ago. So, I mean, it's so relevant, and rather than, I might as well present it in this visually appealing way in these slides, and then I'll include them in obviously the course that you're going to see here. But yeah, I think let's just jump in here and talk headlines. So you're going to have to get the who am I thing, which I'm going to skip through because at this point you read the sales letter for this, or you already knew who I was or whatever, and probably don't need to repeat and brag a whole bunch about that. By the way, I have the slides that you're seeing up on another monitor, and I have my face on that monitor because that's the way Loom works. I'm looking straight ahead of me, so I'm trying to look like I'm at the camera, but if you see my head looking to the side, it's because I've got another monitor, so I'm not just losing my mind because of the coronavirus. Okay, anyway. Right, mentioning Copy Accelerator, and that was from Copy Accelerator. You know what? You have to. We're talking headlines, but you gotta deal with me going a little sentimental, looking at good memories of this event here because I haven't looked at this picture in a little while. But yeah, that was from our Copy Accelerator Mastermind in Vegas, which, by the way, really stoked that we did it when we did because it was right before everything started shutting down because of the coronavirus. So thank goodness. And then this is me hugging my daughter at the end, and my wife Laura in the background, and that picture brings me such a crazy amount of joy. So obviously this was for the presentation to kind of give people context about me who didn't know me, but you do know me more, so let's jump in and talk about headlines. So Perry Marshall says that good copy speaks to the bleeding neck first. And I think that's a great quote. I love that quote. But while that's true, it needs to also evoke curiosity as well, right? So that's going to be like a huge part of what we're going to talk about here with headlines is curiosity. It's one of the 7 things on the checklist that I'm going to give you guys, but curiosity tends to trump everything else. For a headline or a subject line or anything else, curiosity is always going to win because you're always just bringing people in and getting their attention, and they'll read more. The whole point of a headline, right, is to just get somebody to want to keep reading, to like read the first sentence of the lead, right? So yeah, and like I said, yeah, there's really 7 key elements, as you now know. So here's my checklist, and I'm gonna give you guys the checklist, and then we're gonna look at a bunch of examples of it. So curiosity, calling out their pain point, promising a solution, specificity, simplicity, credibility, addressing skepticism, and a time frame to achieve results of the promise. Now, if you're thinking back throughout this course and you've been going through through an order like a good boy or a good girl, then you may realize that there's a lot of similarities here. First of all, in the brief, we have a place for headline ideas, right? But what else are we doing in the lead of our copy outline? We're calling out the pain point. We are promising a solution. We don't have specificity or simplicity, because it's like who can use this. We are addressing skepticism, right? We're building credibility, and so some of those elements from the lead are going to go there, and that's not by accident, right? Because the whole purpose of the lead is to get people to keep going and go to the background story. So purpose of the headline, get them to read the lead. Purpose of the lead, get them to go to the background, keep reading the copy, right? So we're really trying to pull them down through the sales letter and get them to like the button, and then they click the button and buy. What John Carlton to me is one of the best headline writers ever, and obviously best copywriters ever. When he says, "I'm always looking for a hook in my ads, and especially in the headlines, that will jar the reader awake. I want every ad to be the one thing he reads that stays with him all day long. He tells his friends about it. It haunts him, causes him to shake his head in wonder, gooses his brain, and gets his blood flowing." So let's go ahead and look at some examples of headlines, and then you'll see where they match and they don't match. Oh, one other thing I want to actually mention to you really quickly is what you're going to see as well here is that not every headline is going to have all 7 of these things, but most headlines will have several of them. So this is one of the famous John Carlton headlines and offers, and it's brilliant. Want to slash strokes from your game almost overnight? Amazing secret discovered by one-legged golfer adds 50 yards to your drives, eliminates hooks and slices, and can slash up to 10 strokes from your game almost overnight. Now you can learn to use your natural ability to load every drive with 200% more explosive power almost overnight, getting distance you could only dream of before, while nailing shot after shot exactly where you want it, as accurate as clockwork, and if you're like most golfers, knocking a pile of strokes off your next round. Impossible? Not if you believe what lifelong professionals and hot new amateurs worldwide are saying. So, curiosity. Does that have curiosity? Definitely, right? One-legged golfer is amazing curiosity. And that's idea, people have ripped this ad and idea a ton of times now, but especially when this was created, this amazing secret discovered by a one-legged golfer. I mean, the entire headline is all about curiosity. Calling out a pain point, yeah, it talks about hooks and slices. Obviously, it's part of the promise of eliminating hooks and slices, but it does have the pain point of hooks and slices is explicitly mentioned. And then it's loaded with solutions, right? Promising solutions. So add 50 yards to your drives, eliminate hooks and slices, slash up to 10 strokes from your game, load every drive with 200% more explosive power, nailing shot after shot exactly where you want it, as accurate as clockwork, knocking a pile of strokes off your next round. I mean, we're promising massive promises of a solution here. And specificity, it's 50 yards, slash up to 10 strokes, 200% more explosive power. And the reason that specificity just is more believable, more engaging, and better. So rather than saying adds yards to your drives, we're saying adds 50 yards. Instead of saying up to 10 strokes, instead of saying slash strokes or slash several strokes from your game, it's slash up to 10 strokes. Instead of saying load every drive with more explosive power, it's with 200% more explosive power. Just stuff like that just increases believability. So that's why specificity is pretty important. Simplicity, I think, is very much implied here. If a one-legged golfer can do it, so can you. And credibility and addressing skepticism, impossible? Not if you believe what lifelong professionals and hot new amateurs worldwide are now saying. So impossible, that addresses skepticism, and the credibility is that lifelong professionals and hot new amateurs worldwide are saying that this is amazing, right? And then the time frame to achieve results is almost overnight, and that's mentioned 3 different times, if you notice that, right? Almost overnight at the very top here, almost overnight right here, and then almost overnight again here, which is interesting. I wonder if he wasn't able to say overnight, or didn't want to say 2 weeks, and so almost overnight was the concept that worked the best for him. One other thing I want to point out that's really important is there's a lot of copy jammed in here, right? So we're talking about a headline. What I personally call this like the headline complex. So you've got the very top, kind of the pre-header, you've got the meat, the big main headline, and you've got the sort of post-header where you're able to squeeze in a whole bunch more stuff. So I think that's important. If you have, for a video sales letter, you probably can't get away with all of this, right? But if you had for a text sales letter, you can totally get away with a bunch of this stuff. And I've done it as well in the past, and I'm going to show you examples here of it shortly. But let's look at another headline, and this is also from John Carlton. This one is one of my absolute favorites. The naked girls all laughed behind the little pudgy guy's back until he got into a knife fight with 3 enormous badass bikers. So, I mean, that's I just love this headline for a bunch of reasons. It's just so vivid and fun and cheeky and all this stuff. So does it have curiosity? Yeah. Well, the naked girls, it's not naked girls, or you're always gonna be curious about naked girls. Little pudgy guy, kind of is I think there's curiosity there with that. And a fight with 3 enormous bikers is definitely curiosity evoking as well. And the whole headline again is like a WTF headline. Like what? Like what happened? What's the story about? I mean, it's like the whole thing evokes curiosity. What about calling out a pain point? Well, the opposite sex is laughing behind your back because you're little and pudgy. I mean, that's what sort of implied. It doesn't say you, but right, little, pudgy, feeling inadequate, insecure, all of that kind of stuff. So it definitely is calling out pain point. Promises. It doesn't actually promise a solution in this headline, right? It does early on in the lead if you look at this, and these are from the collected letters of John Carlton, which you should totally buy or get access to or whatever. But yeah, it doesn't promise a solution. Specificity, though, it does, right? 3 enormous badass bikers, and it's not girls laughed behind his back, it's the naked girls all laughed behind his back, which is I think pretty important here too. I just realized hopefully I haven't been blocking this a little bit with but either way, I'm saying a lot. I mean, you can figure it out. But yeah, kind of like my head's just floating around talking to you. Ooh, okay. So yeah, but totally has specificity, which I love. Until he got into a knife fight with some badass bikers. Right? It has to be 3. It has to be 3 or 4. The number there is so crucial and perfect. And again, but yeah, not just like it's not just girls, but naked girls. It's not just like behind his back. It's behind the little pudgy guy's back. So tons of specificity there. What about simplicity? Not in the headline, but early in the lead, it does say a few easy to master secrets. Doesn't really address skepticism or have credibility. And there's also not a time frame to achieve results of promise, really. In the lead, he talks about pretty much overnight again. But regardless of that, still a great headline because it evokes curiosity and gets you to want to keep reading. It's kind of the equivalent of like the Today, like some of the clickbait stuff you see online where it's like, man in wheelchair comes into the crowded room. What happens next? When he opens his mouth, people people can control their crying, like see why, or comes into a crowded room, but what happens next will leave you in tears. That's what I mean. So like something like that. There's those clickbaity types of headlines. For like ads and articles and content, ads to lead you to that content. Similar idea. Okay, so this one is from David Deutsch. I'm pretty positive. Who's one of the best copywriters alive today and just an amazing, wonderful human being and wonderful man. And it's another classic great one, right? Kitchen Cure number 619, how gin-soaked raisins cured Carmen's hopeless arthritis, worked even after doctors gave up. See inside on page 2. So what about curiosity here? Well, yeah, we have gin-soaked raisins, so there's kind of curiosity with that. Like, how could gin-soaked raisins cure someone's arthritis? That's inherently curiosity-provoking. Calling out the pain point, yeah, hopeless arthritis. So calls out the pain point. Promises a solution, like cured, right? That's a pretty as good of a solution as you can get. Specificity, Kitchen Cure number 619. Also, you could even argue see inside on page 2, but I think the Kitchen Cure number 619 is a really important one because it's not just like Kitchen Cure or check out this Kitchen Cure. Kitchen Cure number 619. Having that number there is just really nice for adding specificity to everything too. Simplicity, well, Kitchen Cure, again, that just implies simplicity. Gin-soaked raisins, so that's simple. Anyone could soak raisins in gin, right? So it totally has a simplicity factor. Credibility or addressing skepticism. No, I mean, unless you think the publisher of Bottom Line Books is super credible, right? Obviously, this is from 2006. Maybe the fact that it says it worked even after doctors gave up. I don't know if that really leads to credibility or addresses skepticism, though. Time frame to achieve results of promise. It does not have that. Maybe it could have been like how gin-soaked raisins cured Carmen's hopeless arthritis in 14 days. But I think also David in Bottom Line may not want to do that because they didn't want to have a specific time frame for the claim like that, because obviously that could get them into not obviously, but that could get them into trouble from a compliance standpoint too, right? So let's look at some more. Let's keep going here. Scientists discover solution to sexual problems hidden in 1,500-year-old Himalayan secret. Studies show how it boosts sex drive, increases stamina, promotes stronger, longer lasting erections, and more. And I made this joke when I did my talk, but it's true. I always love throwing in something about ED or erections or sex because, it gets your attention, or at least gets my attention. So why not? Curiosity. Well, 1,500-year-old Himalayan secret. That's the solution to sexual problems is hidden inside this 1,500-year-old Himalayan secret. That has some implied curiosity right there. I actually have one thing. I'm going to go back really quick. Don't hate me for it, but back to this one. One other thing for specificity on this one from David is how it cured Carmen's hopeless arthritis. It's not cured her or she or a woman's or this woman's, Carmen. So I love the specificity of giving the woman's name. Just want to point that out. Anyway, curiosity, right? 1,500-year-old Himalayan secret. Calling out the pain point. Sexual problems. Which is a huge part of it, right? Scientists discover a solution to sexual problems. Sexual problems is a little vague, but again, it may be that they just wanted to be more encompassing. Whoever did this promo could be, I wonder, because you could to Himalayan ED or whatever, but I think they wanted to just be broader. I'd be curious if there's a better thing you could have said than sexual problems. Promising solution, yet plenty of that. Boosts sex drive, increases stamina, promotes stronger, longer-lasting erections, and more. Those are all promises, right? Specificity, again, it's the 1,500-year-old Himalayan secret. So it's not a ancient Himalayan secret. It's not scientists discover solutions to sexual problems hidden in ancient or centuries old or Himalayan secret, 1,500-year-old. I like a little bit less even numbers. I wouldn't mind a 1,440 or 1,425-year-old. Sometimes that can work. I don't know. I mean, for this one, 1,500 is not bad either. Simplicity, not really. Credibility, addressing skepticism. You've got the scientists who discovered it, so it does kind of inherently have some credibility to it. And a time frame to achieve results, not really, but it could be, again, from a compliance standpoint, not wanting to, make a promise that is kind of non-compliant, about, cure your ED in 5 days, right? Let's look at another one. I think we got 2 or 3 more, maybe 3 more. I don't know. But hopefully this is helpful for you. I found that sometimes with stuff like this, the best way to do this is just to show a ton of examples and repetition. Because really now you're going to have, you'll have access to these slides, so you can look at these headlines and model off of them in the future when you're writing headlines. And you've got the checklist, and then you can kind of compare what you write to what's here. So I feel like my job with this training is to really show you examples of what good headlines look like. That way you know. So this one's from an offer that's run on ClickBank successfully for a good long time, called Red Tea Detox, and the headline says, "Discover the secret West African red tea, proven to stop hunger cravings in their tracks and help you melt away up to 1 pound of fat every 72 hours." So obviously, curiosity. Well, the secret West African red tea, proven to stop hunger cravings, right? There's already curiosity there that a secret. The word secret and the fact that a tea could help you to do all this very clearly and implicitly has there's curiosity there. And again, you'll notice curiosity is always, of the 7 checklists, the steps, right? Some of them are not always included, but curiosity is always included. Because it's the most important, frankly. That's why I have it as number 1. Calling out the pain point. Well, yeah, it says stop hunger cravings. So cravings is kind of the pain point, and the solution is to stop them in their tracks and help you shed 1 pound of fat every 72 hours. Specificity, melt away up to 1 pound of fat every 72 hours. Also West African red tea. So, it's not just discover the weird tea proven to help you, or even the red tea, or the secret red tea, but secret West African red tea. Even African versus West African's better. And then red tea versus tea. It's just very specific. And then again, it's melt up to 1 pound of fat every 72 hours. So instead of saying most pounds of fat fast. Help you melt away your stubborn belly fat. They have an asterisk there, of course. Like that, the one challenge of saying like that is making sure if you can make a claim like that, that you're okay with doing that. They actually are. I think what's funny is it sounds like a really kind of crazy claim, but like they're saying, so 72 hours is what, 3 days? So they're basically saying you can melt around 2 pounds a week, which is like a compliant claim from an FTC standpoint. So kind of worth noting that. And of course they have their disclaimer to be protect themselves and everything. So simplicity, again, a red tea, just sipping this red tea. Anyone can do that. Credibility and addressing skepticism, not like a ton, but it does say, it says proven, but it's not like doctors, proven by doctors, or that scientists at Harvard now say can stop hunger cravings. So, it's not really strong with the credibility or addressing skepticism, but it does have a good time frame to achieve results of promise with like 1 pound of fat every 72 hours. All right, this one is for a weight loss offer that is doing pretty well as well. It's another weight loss one. This one's for a supplement. So attention woman over 35, tired of endless dieting, exercising, and counting calories. How a humiliating high school reunion led one woman to discover the BioHarmony switch and finally win the battle with her waistline. This simple solution is being used by hundreds of women across the country to melt the fat away, restore their slender body, and make their friends green with envy. So curiosity, right? Does it have curiosity? Yeah, it does. The humiliating high school reunion and also the BioHarmony switch. Because the humiliating high school reunion is like a gossip thing where you hear that and you're like, oh man, like what? Like I want to know that story. And BioHarmony switch is like an interesting way of teasing them, of promising them a solution, but done with unique verbiage. So definitely does take into account curiosity there. Let's go on here. Calling out a pain point, it does if you look at the top. Remember I talked about headline complexes. So up here is like your pre-header, and you've got your main headline, and you've got your sort of post-header, whatever you want to call it right here. So if you look up here, right, endless dieting, exercising, and counting calories. So that those are the pain points, right? And also win the battle with her waistline. So the battle with your waistline being a pain point too. Promising solution, well, yeah, win the battle with her waistline, melt the fat away, restore their slender body, and make friends green with envy. And specificity, yeah, it says woman over 35, so there's some specificity there. What's interesting, I'll get to this in a second. Simplicity, yeah, well, it says a simple solution, and it also says switch. Right, Discourse BioHarmony switch. So it's pretty easy. Flip the switch type idea. That there's some implied simplicity there for sure. Credibility, addressing skepticism, used by hundreds of women across the country. One thing I'm thinking about, there is a doctor spokesperson for this, so I wonder if it was like the simple solution, which was first developed by one of the nation's top doctors, is being used by hundreds of women across the country to melt away fat, blah, blah, blah. So I probably could have mentioned like top doctor. I didn't write this, a different copywriter did, but I copy chiefed it a little bit. His original version had said, I think, lose 47 pounds of fat, but I changed that to be, more compliant so that we weren't making a huge claim. But again, I think just adding doctor, I'd be really curious if that would increase or affect conversion. So I may, do that split test if I can. And then, but back to that 47 pounds of fat, like I don't have a time frame to achieve results in here. And the writer kind of had one before, but took it out because with weight loss, trying to be, compliant and not run afoul of any kind of regulatory stuff. So with weight loss, it's kind of tricky to do that. All right, so I got one more for you that we will go through. This is for a stem cell support product that I wrote. And yeah, I love it. So let's go with it. Like a time capsule in a bottle. New stem cell breakthrough doesn't just pause the aging process, it rewinds it. Imagine going back in time when you were the healthiest, sharpest, most radiant version of yourself, then staying that way for the rest of your life. It's not science fiction. It's the power of stem cell science. Keep reading this report to see why experts believe this is the closest we'll ever get to a real-life fountain of youth, plus the remarkable story of how 22 Nobel Prize-winning scientists came together to get this discovery to the public, and why even though A-list celebrities and pro athletes have been paying $100,000 per year for this youth-preserving breakthrough, you can try it today for pennies. All right, what we got here? Well, we have got... It actually doesn't call it the pain point, right? By the way, I like that I said curiosity was first, but I'm just realizing I think curiosity isn't always first on the checklist. Was it for the other ones, though? I feel like I gotta double check on that, but I guess I'll do that later. 1 second here. Yeah, it is. I think I just skipped curiosity with this slide, so that's kind of funny. So, but with that being the case, let me check if I have it in the later on. Give me a second here, because I don't want to lead you astray. Sorry, my mouse disappeared too. I'm totally melting down. Totally melting down here. Yeah, it's funny. So I actually totally forgot curiosity when I did this one previously. So does it have curiosity though? Let's just talk about it, right? Yeah, it definitely does. I mean, time capsule in a bottle is kind of a curiosity thing. Rewinding the aging process is totally a curiosity thing. The closest we'll ever get to a real-life fountain of youth is kind of a curiosity thing. The idea of 22 Nobel Prize-winning scientists coming together is kind of a curiosity thing. And even like invoking A-list science or celebrities and pro athletes and all of that, I think there's plenty of curiosity throughout this. Again, doesn't really call it the pain point though, but it does definitely promise solutions. Rewind the aging process, going back in time to the best version of yourself, a real life fountain of youth, all that kind of stuff here, right? Oh, and then yeah, also youth preserving too. So yeah, a bunch of promises. How about specificity? Totally. 22 Nobel Prize winning scientists, $100,000 per year. So one thing that's interesting is if, I love the 22 Nobel Prize winning scientists. I wonder about the, paying $100,000 per year. I wonder if it was like $103,000 per year or $97,000 per year. Would that have been better? And the answer is like, maybe, I don't know. How about simplicity? Yeah, time capsule in a bottle. So the time capsule thing's interesting too, because the clients weren't crazy about it. They thought maybe a time machine or something like that would be better. But I like time capsule because I liked evoking this idea of like a simpler time, right? I mean, kind of having that first line, going back in time to when you were your healthiest, sharpest, most radiant version of yourself, then staying that way for the rest of your life. We're asking to imagine that, right? And I think for the demographic, which is primarily 60 plus, they can probably, most of them did a time capsule in school or growing up. Are they familiar with it? It seems like time capsules aren't as popular anymore. And then just thinking about that brings them back to a mental state of being in their childhood and being young and being more carefree. And there's probably this sense of relief or a lifting or, a sentimental feeling. It really heightens their emotional state. So that's why I liked going with time capsule as a concept. And this promotion did quite well. So, that's cool. Credibility, addressing skepticism. Yeah, definitely. 22 Nobel Prize winning scientists. It's not science fiction. It's the power of stem cell science. A-list celebrities and pro athletes. A bunch of kind of credibility things there too. I would also argue that even the line about how experts believe this is the closest we'll ever get to a real life fountain of youth, I think that's important because I'm not saying new fountain of youth miracle discovered, which I think has been done so many times. Just by saying this is some experts believe that this is the closest we'll ever get to a real life fountain of youth, I think that actually adds a little bit of credibility because it's a more believable claim. It's not a hypey over the top claim. So I would include that there. And then time frame to achieving the results of the promise. Well, we're saying try today for pennies, so we're saying you can try this right away. So it's kind of like today, I guess you would say, right? Today is the time frame. Not necessarily results, but that you can, because we don't want to make promise results like that for something like kind of anti-aging. I'm not trying to say you'll immediately grow younger this moment from a compliance standpoint, but we can at least say try it today. And yeah, that's it. The end slide here. So hopefully you found this really valuable. You'll have the PowerPoint slides in the members or the members area, the buyers area, whatever it's called for the RMBC course. And then I think you can take this. So again, the most important part here, I'm gonna pull it up for you. The examples are great. Now you have the checklist. When you're writing leads in the future, you can kind of use this as a criteria. How many of these things am I checking off the list when I do my leads, right? And again, you're not going to have all of them. And then also kind of looking at these headlines. Sorry, when I'm doing my headlines. And then when you're looking at headlines, comparing them to some of these great headlines and seeing, how they stack up. So this should help you quite a bit. Gives you kind of the things to make sure you include in your headlines. And, now you've looked at a bunch of headline examples and all of that. I guess a couple of quick FAQs that people do ask me sometimes, and maybe you're wondering about as well, is like, does this apply to blog content or article content, right? And the answer is like, yeah, 100% it does. Because the mistake people make a lot with their like blog marketing is they have really boring headlines because they think like, it's like they think content is boring, so they almost purposely make their headlines boring. So it's like 3 tips for saving money this summer when you travel. It's like, okay, be like, like why like a broke 23-year-old how a broke 23-year-old spent the last 4 months traveling across the world, flying first class and staying in 5-star hotels, something like that, right? Way more interesting. Curiosity, specificity, 3 months, broke 23-year-old. No, it depends on how much real estate you have, but the point is you can totally make the headlines for your advertorials and adverts and blog content and all that kind of stuff just as way more intriguing following this sort of checklist. And the same thing for ads too, like whether it's a display ad or whatever. And we are going to do a whole training on that as well. But I wanted to kind of answer that thing that got brought up when I was doing my talk at the Copyright Club IRL event, and figured I might as well address that. So yeah, hope this helped, and sweet.